Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round number 5 of the Season 15 AOR Hype Energy Racing Leagues for the PS4. I am Joseph Willows. At the moment, my other commentator, OTG, isn't with me at the moment. Hopefully he'll be able to join halfway through into qualifying, so for the moment you're just going to get me for now. And as you can see, it is bucking it down with rain here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and we've got 19 drivers ready to go for the 5th round of the Season 15 Championship. Hopefully you can hear my voice, and I'm hoping that everything is okay. Of course, last week there was issues with the stream, of course, with quality. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm hoping that with my stream that there won't be such an issue. So let's just keep my fingers crossed on that. But we've got some track activity to get out onto the track, so let's keep an eye out on it then. So we'll try and get to some cars on track, some of them involving the Haas of Davidos, who's out on track as well. And so as the cars take to the track, obviously last time out in Bahrain, Flores obviously in the Force India managed to get the victory. And after what had been quite a tricky season for him so far, he managed to get his first points of the season, and on top of that with a victory as well. He had a little bit of pressure as well from Nardi X team, but he was able to just hold him off in the end. And of course we have to mention as well that the Mercedes of Ollie D, of course, just seemed to struggle during that race. Of course, obviously, like with his teammate, he opted to go for a very aggressive strategy, going on the softer of the tyres, and as a result it backfired on him to the point where he ran out of degradation. So as a result he dropped outside of the podium, and as a result championship leader Synthetic was able to gain a lot in the Drivers' Championship, and he's able to pull away a little bit more this season. So as we come here into Barcelona, we'll try and see if we can get some lap action at this stage. So this is obviously my first time hosting a live stream on AOR, so don't expect it to be 100% perfect. I am new to this. Hopefully I can learn on my way. But hello to everybody who's in the stream at the moment, all 17 of you, according to the top right if you're there. So I do believe we are, of course, live, and I think you can be able to hear me, of course. I'm not able to check at the moment. As mentioned, it's just me for the moment because OTG is running a little bit late. I think he's just come back from a Tottenham match. I think he was at Wembley, and he's just running a little bit late. But hopefully he can join me halfway into qualifying. But just for now, though, you will have me just for the moment as Eagle Killer starts his lap in the Red Bull now. Then, obviously, drivers using intermediates so far. It looks like the conditions might be getting a little bit worse, so we might expect wet weather conditions. Well, we have got wet weather conditions, but we may expect maybe wet weather tyres to come into play maybe a little bit later on in the session, which would obviously compromise any faster lap times, of course, because this weather doesn't seem to be easing out for the remainder of the session. Hopefully it will probably be wet for the race, because that will be a very interesting race, but we'll have to wait and see what the weather's like for the race as a whole. And so Eagle Killer, I don't know if he's pushing there on his first flying lap, because he looks a little bit slower in there as he gets a little bit of a tank slapper coming out at turn 6. So here is Flores. I believe he's on a lap, the man that won last time out in Bahrain, as he now comes up towards the final few corners. As Curly sets an early fastest time of 1:32.392. As now Synthetic takes the top. Here comes Flores coming out of the final corner. Gets a tank slap out of the final corner, but let's see if he's able to beat it. Only third fastest with his first flying lap, as Gemzo slots into second place on his first flying lap. Daniel 5th. Here comes Chicken. Across the line he comes, and he slots to second place in the Red Bull. He's looking for redemption after a disastrous Bahrain last weekend. As RC Alonso slots into second place, only a 10th behind championship leader Synthetic at the present moment, as now Chocolate goes to the top in the McLaren. So Chocolate going to the top of the timing sheets at the moment. Clay bringing up the rear at this stage. So Chocolate currently at the top, Synthetic second, Alonso third, Ollie D fourth, Cass in 5th, Chick in 6th, Alex in 7th, Gemzo in 8th, Curly Whirly in 9th, Clarky 10th, Flores 11th, Eagle 11th, Daniel 12th, Clay in Eagle Killer 13th and Damn Daniel in 14th position. Missed out Eagle Killer there for a minute. Looks like Clay didn't get a competitive lap time in because he's only, well, 11 seconds off the pace it seems. And, well, just under 11 seconds I should say. But it's clearly that he must have made a mistake on his first flying run and might be going for a second flying lap in this 12-minute qualifying session. Here he is in the Ferrari, and he does look to be on another flying lap at this stage as Curly Whirly gets himself up into 4th place at this stage. Pasty goes 13th on his first flying lap. Super Scrub is currently out on an out lap at the present moment at this stage as we have just over 6 minutes of the session remaining. Let's see if Clay can get himself a competitive lap time in the Ferrari as he comes up through these final few corners on the track. And let's see what Clay is able to do as he comes up towards the final few corners as Gemzo gets himself up into 2nd place, getting in front of championship leader Synthetic. So up into 2nd place he goes as Chocolate sets an improvement of 131.302. Let's see if Clay is able to get a competitive lap time in. Well, only up to 15th there, so nothing major there at this stage of qualifying as Super surprisingly goes back into the pits, not setting a competitive lap time. Meantime, teammate Chocolate looks to be on another, well, just came out of an original flying lap as he goes wide coming out of turn 3. Hopefully we'll get a very exciting race today. Obviously the real life Spanish Grand Prix that happened a little bit earlier on was very dull, but hopefully AOR can do better, as it were, as I was struggling to use my words there. We'll try and see if I can get Ollie onto the party chat. As if you only just joined us, it is only me at the moment. OTG should hopefully, your main commentator should hopefully join us in a little bit. He is running a little bit late because he's only just come back from the Tottenham match that happened at Wembley, which finished 5-4. So he will be joining slightly late. Hopefully not too late, but we will wait and see. Hopefully the quality of the stream is okay, and hopefully things are okay for you watching it on stream. As we look at, obviously, Chocolate, who's just had a slide coming out of the last corner there. And is he going back into the pits this lap? He is. As, excuse me, the Haas in front has just started a lap, I think, or just about to complete one. We'll try and see what Synthetic is up to as he's on an out lap, obviously getting a podium last time out in Bahrain after a battle with Ollie D. Ollie obviously going for the risk of going for the super softs towards the end, and obviously backfired on him. Same for teammate Curly Whirly. So Mercedes clearly struggling with the tyre wear over in Bahrain, and they're hoping to capitalise on that this weekend. As a result, Synthetic was able to pull away a bit more in the Drivers' Championship. So he'll be looking to try and see if he can continue that this weekend. As he now comes up towards the left-hander as he prepares to start his next flying lap. Cass at the moment currently on a lap in 4th place. We'll go to him at the moment as he goes around turn 6 and 7. Obviously trying to ensure that the car doesn't slip off, of course, because let's not forget, in these tricky conditions, very easy to slip off. We were expecting rain in the real life F1 race, but didn't really show up, did it, guys? So it seems that AOR seems to pick the weather up. Whether it's like that for the race, we'll wait and see. Super Scrub, still the only man yet to do a lap, but he's just gone out onto the track. In fact, I think he's just started a lap, in fact. As Cass just coming around the final few corners. Is he going to be on for an improvement? Let's see as he comes around the final few corners on the track. Up towards the final corner then goes RS Cass, and is he able to try and get into the top? Here's Clark, he goes up into 2nd place. Cass goes fastest with a 1:31.296. Cass going to the top, beating Chocolate's time of a 1:31.302. And so that's that for him, really. Is now a few more cars coming out, including Gemzo, who looks to try and get himself into the top 3, providing he doesn't get caught up in any traffic. We now look at championship leader Synthetic to see if he can try and challenge for pole position as he goes through turn 6 and 7 now then. Keeping the car quite stable as he just goes around turn 8. Usually that would be near flat out going into that corner, but that's not going to be the case this time around. As he just goes through the left-hander, looks like he's done a double lock-up going through that corner now then, and it sounds like he's actually backed off on his lap there, so Synthetic giving up and possibly trying again, but he's only got, what, just under 2 minutes remaining in the session, so we'll wait and see what he's able to pull off as he backs off to try and get some clear air in front, because there was a little bit of traffic in front in the form of one of the Saubers. Couldn't quite tell which one that was, as RC Alonso prepares to start a lap. Doesn't look like he's pushing, but we'll wait and see, in fact, if he's on a flying lap. Coming around the final corner onto the pit straight, and is he on a lap? And no, he's not, he's just about to start one, in fact, so he was on an out lap. It seems as Chicken's just started another lap. Synthetic now on a proper lap. As we look at Gemzo, currently 4th, can he get himself back up into the top 3? He was up in 2nd a little early on, and he looks like he's backed off on his lap, so he's giving up on that and trying to get as Ollie D now goes to the top of the timing sheets with a 1 minute 30.905, the first man to get into the 1 minute 30s today, so he's 3 attempts clear of Cass in the ends of the Mercedes, getting to the top of the timing seat. Chocolate on another lap as Gemzo starts his proper flying lap, as we now look at Synthetic. There's 43 seconds remain in this qualifying session, as now heading down the back straight, the second DRS straight if it were dry. Coming up towards the left-hander, we've got a yellow flag down at sector 1, and it's gone away again. Presumably somebody went wide past. In fact, it's actually come back up, but now through towards the final few corners on the track then, as Synthetic hopes to complete his lap. He's got some traffic in front, he'll be hoping it doesn't impede him, but he's got to go for this lap now, because there's only a few seconds left, 10 seconds remaining on the clock, as now through the final corner comes Synthetic, heading down the pit straight. Will this be enough to possibly put him into pole position? And it is a 1 minute 30.901, the top 2 only separated by 0.04 of a second, very close indeed between the pair of them, but Ollie D looking to improve if he can now then, as he comes around the final few corners. Cass in 3rd, the Eagles calling it a day in the Red Bull now then, and very ragged through the curbs there for Ollie D. Round the final corner he goes now then, getting a twitch of oversteer, trying to correct the car. That might have cost him his lap there. Across the line he comes, and he remains in 2nd place. No improvement for the Mercedes there, as Chocolate stays in 4th place. Gemzo on a lap, keep an eye on him in the Force India, down in 7th at this stage, as he comes up now towards the final few corners. Will Gemzo try and improve on his lap now then, through the final few corners? Less ragged than what Ollie D was that time around. Is Gemzo on an improvement? Around the final corner comes the Force India, and across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve. He stays in 7th place. Curly Whirly in the other Mercedes, his teammate 2nd, looking like to start on the front row, but can Curly Whirly get himself into the mix as he heads down straight now then, and he crosses the line, and he does! Curly Whirly goes fastest with a 1 minute 30.724, just under a 2 attempts clear from Synthetic in the end. So P1 for Curly Whirly as a result, as Synthetic managing to get a second flying lap in, but it looks like he's getting held up by the Sauber. But can he get himself back to pole? Well, he improves, but he stays in 2nd place, just to get himself within a 10th of Curly Whirly. And I think that's everybody done, as Eagle retired earlier, and Over the Kink has stayed into the pits. Everybody else has got checkered flags next to their names, meaning that their session has come to a close. So as a result, Curly Whirly, I believe, has taken pole position for this race by just over a 10th of a second ahead of Synthetic. And, well, hopefully we'll be in for a very exciting race as a whole now then, as he just negotiates through these section of corners now then, as we wait for the session to officially end. As so Curly Whirly on pole position, Synthetic 2nd, Ollie D in 3rd, so 2 Mercedes within the top 3 there. Cass 4th, Chocolat in 5th, Chicken in 6th position, Clarky 7th, Gemzo in 8th, Alex 9th, Clay in 10th, Dam Daniel in 11th position, Davidos in 12th, and it looks like his AI there has gone for a little bit of a wild moment through turn 6 there. Alonso P13, I Super Scrub 14th, and it is Flies 15th, Eagle 16th, Passy 17th, Over the King 18th, and Noddy X all the way down in 19th. Disappointing for the Renault driver there to be all the way down in last place. The man who came close to a victory last week in Bahrain, down at the back. He's got it all to do for the race, as we've got a timer now to indicate that the session is slowly coming to a close. So it should cut away to the results screen. So there we go. Qualifying is now officially over for the Spanish Grand Prix. A disappointing session from RDX as OTG has joined, and hopefully we'll be crossing over to him a little bit later. So before we do then, Curly Whirly is on pole position with Synthetic in second, Ollie D in third, Cass fourth, Chocolate in fifth, Chicken in sixth, Clarky seventh, Gemzo in eighth, Alex in ninth, Clay in 10th, Daniel 11th, Davidos in 12th, Alonso 13th, I Super Scrub 14th, Flores in 15th, Eagle 16th, Passy 17th, Over the King 18th, and NardiX with it all to do in last place, 1.5 seconds off the pace of pole sitter Curly Whirly then. So let me try and see if I can get Ollie into the party then, so hopefully we can get his voice, and so hopefully he'll then take over for the rest of the session. Hopefully he'll be joining us in just a little bit. So let me just cut away from the FOM intro as everybody starts to get underway. As you can see, everybody just loading up, it seems, as we get set for, I believe, 33 laps of action here at the Spanish Grand Prix. So hopefully OTG will join me in a little bit to do the commentary, and then he'll then take over the main duties for now, and I'll just take my reign as co-commentator. As 30 seconds remaining for everybody to get a setup on or get a strategy in place, as everybody getting ticks next to their names, as hopefully we're in for a good race. No wet conditions, it is bone dry here for the race, so but let's hope we can have a more exciting race than what the actual Spanish Grand Prix delivered earlier on today. As 7 seconds remain, we're getting set for the race now. Then 3, 2, 1, and 0. And so we're on the grid then. 2 lights are on, 3 lights are on, 4 lights are on, 5 lights are on, and we are underway for round 5 here of the AOR PS4 League, and it seems to be a good start from Curly Whirly. He's got away very well. Ollie D trying to get the jump on Synthetic as it comes down towards turn 1. Cass trying to get himself involved. Down towards turn 1 we go as OTG has finally joined me, and well, it seems that his NAT isn't able to connect with me at the moment, so he'll have to pop out and come back in when he's finished then, so when he can. So now, as you can see, Curly Whirly with a good start. Looks like Over the King's got involved in some carnage. Synthetic back up to second place, retaking the place off Ollie D now then, as we come around the left-hander down there on the track, as heading down towards turn 6 and 7 on the track. Then we go, and can we get to OTG's voice? We shouldn't have any NAT problem. There we go, Ollie's voice is on. Do you want to take over the rest of it, OTG?
Sadly, you'll have to take over because I'm unable to join the lobby, but I will be watching along and I will commentate on moments I can see. I'm having to watch the stream, sadly, because PlayStation. I apologise for my lateness, but yes, Joe, this is for you.
Okay, so as you can see, Curly Whirly getting in under threat now then from Synthetic. Looks like Ollie D trying to get himself involved. The Mercedes pretty much wanting to win this race if they can at the moment. Remember, keep an eye on NardiX, who qualified all the way down in last place at the moment. Whatever happened to him, he's trying to make his way out through the field. So far, he's up into 15th place. Having a little bit of a fight with Daniel as Curly Whirly sets an early fastest lap of the race now then, but Synthetic trying to have an attack on him now then, down in towards the first few corners, and Curly Whirly just able to fend him off through the first corner. That was pure slipstream, that was. No DRS as of yet in this race. Chocolate trying to get himself involved now then as Chicken trying to close up as much as possible in the Red Bull now then, as lots of battles seem to be going on. Everybody keeping single file in these first couple of laps then. And so now... Yeah. Sorry, Ollie, you want to...
Yeah, I've just hopped on, and you've noticed that Synthetic is really having to do an important job here. Leading the championship currently, and he needs to push on. If he does, he can really catch on to the back of Curly. But throughout the field, there seems to be some really intense battles.
Absolutely right, as now they come out down towards the second DRS straight now then, as not really much movement going on. There's one of the Ferraris trying to look like they got out the slipstream there, as Eagle is out of the race. Eagle has retired from the race now then, and he seems to have crashed it. He must have lost it on the curb coming down towards the barrier, and it said that Alex, I think, has got a time penalty, so maybe he must have got himself involved in that carnage, as he got some damage. In fact, as we ran on board of him, he's suffering from understeer So I would presume, yes, he's got a little bit of damage. He's lost an end plate. Whether he'll come into the pits for that, we'll wait and see. As Chocolate sets the fastest lap, but out of the race goes Eagle there as 4 cars scrap it out for the lead as a trainer car's coming down the pit straight. Chocolate having a little look at Ollie D into turn 1. Unable to do so. Ollie D shutting the door through towards turn 1. A side-by-side action in the background between Cass and Gemzo. Gemzo trying to go around the outside of Cass. Cass having to fend him off as best as possible now then as he goes defensive through turn 4 there. And, well, Gemzo had to get out of it last minute, but he's trying to hang it around the outside through into turn number 4, but isn't able to do so. Cass holds on to the place for the time being as Alonso and Clarkey start to fight it out.
Yeah, this track really does promote some fantastic overtaking opportunities. You see down into turn 1, probably the key one with one of the longest straights on the F1 calendar. And we're seeing really how tight the field is, and this is important to note because if we get these battles, we could really have anyone win this Grand Prix with the way things are currently set up.
Absolutely right. Sorry to interrupt you, but Chocolate's having a go at Ollie D, trying to look around the outside of him into that corner. Wasn't able to do so. I thought for a minute there he'd actually pulled it off, but wasn't able to do so there. Ollie D just hanging on to 3rd place. Intense battling in the opening laps for the lead.
Yeah, indeed. And this is obviously a resurgence moment now for Ollie. If he can get himself back into these significant points, but notably, of course, Synthetic, he could potentially win. And that's such a fantastic start that he really, if he does do so, it could be getting closer and closer to starting to taste the sweet taste of success.
Absolutely. Synthetic there had a go at Curly Whirly, had DRS, but wasn't able to make the move stick. Curly Whirly having to try and help his teammate, really. If he could just back up Synthetic into Ollie D, could possibly help him out in this championship, but I bet you in Curly Whirly's mind, he'll want to win this race, that's for sure. As Chicken starting to get onto the back of this 3rd place. There's now starting to be a little bit of a gap between 1st to 2nd and then 3rd to around about 7th now as Cass and Gemzo start to close in on Ollie D, who so far seems to be holding up a train.
Yeah, it is indeed. You know, this isn't ideal for Ollie, but he's just got to keep what he's doing. If you just look at the gaps, though, everyone is so significantly close to each other that realistically you need to be within about 3 to 4 tenths if you want to make the move successful. But with the DRS assistance, anything can really happen. Ollie just needs to hold them off for as long as possible, because if you do get done, it can be a ricochet effect where you just slowly domino down the field.
Absolutely right. And, of course, as I was saying a little earlier, we're hoping for a good race here today, and considering how close everybody is on the first 3 laps, it's already doing better than what the actual Formula 1 race did a little earlier, because obviously I don't think you saw the F1 race, Ollie, because you were down at Tottenham, but it was quite a dull race to be honest, but already it's already producing quite an exciting race. Will Synthetic try and get Curly Whirly this time down the straight? Ollie D also having DRS on the top 2 as well, as again Curly Whirly going defending that inside line. Getting Synthetic maybe drag him out of turn 1, and that is a beautiful pass if he's just able to make that stick. Ran a little bit off the track, but a beautiful pass from Synthetic, and he takes the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix, and now Ollie D wants a piece of his own teammate.
Yeah, I'm not sure how difficult he'll make it, though. Of course, team orders may be in place, but Curly actually having a very good season compared to Ollie, so I'm not sure. Maybe some team orders, but importantly for Synthetic, the Mercedes hasn't held him up that much, which means now he may be able to pull away. It's going to be tough, though, because these guys are very, very quick in this tier.
As you just saw there, Curly Whirly went deep into turn 5 there. Ollie D tried to have a go, but wasn't risking it there, as now look at all these cars fighting out. Alex now setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.146 in the Williams racing car. Now then heading down the straight, flicking on the DRS for Ollie D. Isn't able to make the move stick on Curly Whirly there. Obviously that is quite a tough straight to pass on, because it's not really that much straight to really overtake on. As you can see in the background, Nardi X having a go, and I think that's Flores for 10th place there, and I think he's not been able to get the place, but Nardi X getting close to the points after only qualifying in 19th place. Now can Ollie D try and get Curly Whirly? He needs to get past him very quickly, because Synthetic is slowly starting to pull away from this lot now then. DRS galore down the pit straight now then, as we go down towards the pit straight. Curly Whirly defending the inside from Ollie D. Will Ollie D try and get the run on Curly Whirly down towards turn 1? He's going to try and hang it through turn 2. A little bit of contact between the 2 Mercedes drivers as they're going to go side by side through turn 3 now then. Is he just able to hang it off? It would be a beautiful pass from Ollie D if he's able to pull this one off, and still wheel rubbing between the two Mercedes drivers. This is close racing. All the guys behind them looking for any opportunity to pounce upon, and Ollie D with a fantastic move round turn 4 to get up into second place. As you can see, Chocolate trying to follow through, but he looks to have been pushed into the gravel, and now Chicken takes full advantage and gets up into 4th place now then. So Chocolate getting pitched down. In fact, Chocolate's disconnected. So Chocolate has had a disconnection. Such a shame. He was looking strong for a podium, but that's all come down to nothing. So Chocolate ends his race unless he can be joined a little bit later. That's surely a podium down the toilet for Chocolate.
Yeah, very importantly though, this has actually allowed Synthetic to move out of the DRS range. So while these guys are all squabbling, Synthetic is really doing himself a favour if he wants to win this Grand Prix.
Absolutely, as Chocolate has now rejoined in the session. Cass having to go a bit defensive because Gemso's giving him a lot of trouble behind at the moment. Alonso trying to close up onto that fight as well. Down the pit straight we go now then. Will Curly Willy try and get Ollie D back? He's got the DRS, we've got the yellow flag down at sector 3. And is there a reason why we got a yellow down there? Let's have a quick look. Doesn't really say. Alex is obviously down in last because he had to change the front wing. It doesn't really say why there's a yellow in sector 3, but either way, Curly Willy wasn't able to get the move done on Ollie D. Chicken having a look down into turn 4, wasn't able to make the move stick that time around, and now Curly Willy is starting to drop back from Ollie D. Now Ollie D will just hope now he's got to try and chase down Synthetic if he wants to get himself back in the championship fight.
Yeah, it's not just a battle for the win, it is also a battle for his championship glory if he wants to defend that title. A quick side note, of course, Flores currently down in 9th. What a fall from grace after last week's fantastic performance to dominate the Grand Prix. He's sadly not doing as well, but there's still a real good chance the pit stops could be vital for these guys in this race. You know, they've got to try and make sure that they pit at the optimum time, and undercut, overcut, whatever they go for is so vital. A simple one-stop, of course, in this Grand Prix. And, you know, whoever pits first could be risking it, but the undercut
as
could be very powerful.
Has just passed Clay there for P8. Well, I say that, Clay trying to get back on him now then. With the fourth last corner, and Flores has been shoved wide now then. Will Nardi X try and get the advantage as Flores still sticks with him now then, trying to get the extra traction. Coming out of the second to last corner, he will have DRS down the straight, but now also joining his Clarkey in the Toro Rosso as now Nardi X looks to the outside of Flores as they come down the pitch straight. It's 3 wide. Down the pitch straight, well, nearly 3 wide. Look at all this. Hopefully they can keep it clean into turn 1. Flores takes 8th. A little bit of contact between Nardi X and Clay there, but luckily Clay didn't get spun off there. Nardi X moving up into 9th place. A good battle there for P8 at the moment, and Flores moves up a place.
Yeah, you can see why these guys are the best of the best on the PlayStation 4 platform, and Flores doing the Hyper Energy guys a real good solid there and showing off his true pace. He was hoping to get his championship fight potentially on. You know, it's so tight from that midfield scrap in the championship, but with the way Synthetic's currently running, he is really looking solid for a potential another Grand Prix victory. But Ollie might risk it. You know, he risked it at Baku, and he's been going for some riskier strategies recently, so there is still potential that he could get himself a win out of this Grand Prix, but I think he's going to have to get the move done on track if he really stands a chance.
Exactly, and while you're here, Ollie, where do you believe the pit stops are going to come in during this race, during this 33 lap?
It's a difficult one. I'd imagine very shortly, in fact. I can't see with the way that the tyres there. If you're on soft tyres, I'd say maybe lap 14 to 16. That's a push, though. That is really a push. But the degradation around this track is very significant. Be interested to keep an eye on the medium runners. We can have a quick look at them, potentially. You know, they're going to be the ones who are really going to have to try and make it last. And going on to their mediums compared to soft, the pace difference is quite significant. You do start to notice it, but the degradation as well is also a very key factor.
Especially right, and speaking of a few medium runners there, a couple of them being Cass and Gemso now then. Gemso tried to have a little look at Cass down into turn 1, but Cass was just able to fend him off as they now slowly start to close in onto that battle for third between Curly Whirly and Chicken, and surprisingly Synthetic still around 1.8 seconds in front of Ollie D, so Ollie really just hasn't really got the pace at this stage to get out Synthetic on this stint.
Yeah, but that's something we've seen quite frequently. Ollie's not really had the on-track pace recently. I'm not sure if it's a case of momentum or just his, you know, the way he's feeling at the moment. You get a very similar vibe when Lewis Hamilton's racing. If he's not feeling mentally in the way that he should feel, the way he feels comfortable, doesn't perform the same way. So a happy Ollie is a very successful one, and that's how he was able to win his championship. And Synthetic at the moment, he just seems to be stress-free. The way he's performing, the way he's week in, week out, he's just able to show up and confidently hit the track perfectly. you know, is a real admirable trait of his. And I would say that he, for me, is one of the best drivers on his day, and he's really showing his talent today.
Absolutely right, as now DRS galore again down this pit straight now, then Chicken trying to attack Curly Willy, but I feel he's just a bit too far back to challenge him at this stage. Same with Gemzo on Cass. That's the disadvantage with these sorts of cars, really, because of how much drag these cars have got. Dirty air is going to be a significant factor when trying to overtake around here, but it's not impossible, of course. We have seen it so far in this race, but that's something that these drivers have got to be wary of, considering that if they get stuck in that dirty air, it's really going to overheat the tyres. As Chocolate is out of the race, it seems, so Chocolate has called it a day after disconnecting a little bit earlier. But as I mentioned, they have to be careful they don't get too caught in that dirty, otherwise their tyres are going to be shot.
Yeah, indeed. The dirty air can affect the degradation of these tyres quite significantly. A lot of the guys are on mediums, so that may be the optimum. It's obviously a soft medium run. It's very simple. I mean, you could potentially go onto the hards if you do pit early, but so far no one has pitted significantly early. Of course, 33 laps around this track. We're coming to about the third mark shortly on lap 11, so third of the way through, and that's when you're notoriously going to look to pit. So keep an eye out on the pit stops. This is where it can become crucial. Around this track, overtaking opportunities are available, as we've seen down the start-finish straight and the back DRS straight. But pit stops normally in leagues like this, where the grid is so tight and overtaking is so tough.
Sorry to interrupt, Chicken is actually going to the pit, so he's the first of the leaders to make a pit stop. So yeah, quite early, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, it's something, though, he feels he has to do, of course. Maybe the degradation is poor. Maybe he feels like he's getting held up a little bit. And if he does go for this undercut and is successful, he could potentially come out in second. You've got to remember, though, the Mercedes boys, both of them will have to can't pit at the same time. And because they're so close on track, one of them pits, say, next lap, say Ollie does, that does actually make Curly Whirly very, very vulnerable. So guaranteed 2 more laps for one of the Mercedes drivers.
And as we've seen in the past with the 2 Mercedes drivers, especially last week in Bahrain, of course, really, they tried to risk it with a softer compound, and it clearly bit them in the bum, essentially, because, well, Ollie D was looking strong for a podium, but then, of course, his tyres shot, and obviously he lost that podium to Synthetic. As meantime, Chicken has rejoined in 15th place on a set of hard tyres, so quite an interesting one there. He's going quite hard on this stint, it seems.
Yeah, it's probably about right as well. The hard tyres are the safer bet, and you want to go for the safer bet in this, obviously with no chance of safety cars being off. If you go onto these set of tyres, you know they're going to get to the end. Now, the only downside, of course, is it's going to be 0 pace going on till the end of the race. So that's the compromise you've got to make. There's a potential for an undercut here, and he could get track position. And if he's very good at defending, track position can be an important aspect. We've seen previously Alex in the Williams. He's got fantastic straight line speed normally, and he's a very good defender. So if you set your car up for straight line speed, it could be very tough to get past you around this track.
As Ollie D is now into the pits for Mercedes, so he's also going onto them set of hard tyres on the Mercedes car. As now Cass looking side by side with Ollie D's teammate Curly Whirly, but unable to make the move stick there. Can Gemzo try and take full advantage through towards turn 3, and getting caught in the dirty air there and running a tad bit wide, and now no chance of trying to possibly dive it down into turn 4.
Yeah, this could all be coming into the hands of Chicken at the moment with all this squabbling. I think Ollie made the right decision coming in. I'd imagine he's gone onto the hard compound tyres. If he's gone for the mediums, he does like a softer run tyre, and he can get them to the end, but degradation, as previously mentioned, is a very tough factor. There's almost 3 aspects you battle on a racetrack, and we're in Spain is definitely one of them. It's the car, it's the circuit, and it's the tyres. The tyres are normally your worst enemy, and you've got to make sure that you keep them nice and optimal to last to the end of the race, because I have had experiences in different leagues in previous years, and I've also raced, and I've found myself getting a blown tyre on the last lap around this track, and it's not a nice feeling at all, especially if it's at the start of the lap. You feel a little bit down, so they've got to make sure they get these tyres. These guys are, of course, very much better than myself, but nonetheless, similar issues will be felt, and you may find difference in guys who are running on the pad compared to Will. I believe pad is probably a little bit better around this track, but saving the tyres can be the importance, and if you're on a Will, normally you can just about save the tyres a little bit more.
As leader Synthetic is coming to the pits, as has Curly Whirly, and just like Ollie D, he's also gone to those sets of hard tyres, so it seems that the majority of the field are doing that. No variation from other drivers, maybe trying to do a risk there, as Curly Whirly has finished his stop. I believe he's also on them hard tyres. We'll have to have a look as Ollie D still in front, Synthetic still out in front. As Chicken, it looks like he might have got the leapfrog on Curly Whirly there, and Chicken has leapfrog Curly Whirly, and now Nardi X is holding up Curly Whirly there as a result. Nardi X still yet to make a pit stop. but now there is a car between himself and Chicken really calling this one, because he was battling with Curly Wurly before the pit stop, and he's definitely made the undercut work to perfection.
Yeah, and I did mention this, but of course the tyres may be a later on factor. It is important though, the undercut is going to be effective, so maybe Ollie could get an undercut on synthetic. Oh no, sorry, synthetic's pitted, so not really a chance of that actually, sorry, my bad. But yeah, the undercut is important, the overcut is a potential, but Chicken doing a good enough job there to get nicely up into the position. Track position is important, and of course Curly could get held up by traffic as well.
Absolutely right, and speaking of Curly, he was trying to have a look, in fact it's Pasty, I do apologise, not Noddy X, it's the other runner of Pasty that's in front of him at the moment. He tried to have a go at him a little earlier, but Pasty really holding him up, doesn't really care if he's not in the same race as him, he wants to give him a fight it seems, and I wonder if Pasty will probably be pitting this lap anyway. Let's have a look, yes he's pitting this lap anyway, so Curly Wurly is free, but he's lost now a lot of time to Chicken in their battle for third place.
Yeah, both on hard tyres as well. I'm not sure if you'd be able to, Joe. Would you be able to put on the graphic, please, for everyone at home to see the tyres, so we get a bit more of a sense for everyone, so you are aware of the strategies. If you've got on a spectator, you'll be able to there. It's just so everyone has a clear view of where everyone is. And yeah, the tyre compound choices are very much important. Most people going onto hards and playing it safe, but there is the potential that guys could go onto the medium compound tyres.
The lap data on, so it shows
fantastic. So the guys at home now can see what tyres everyone goes onto. So making sure you go onto the right compound tyres is the most important aspect, and these pit stops can gain you time. We've seen Chicken go for the undercut. He's gone to hards. So too has Curly come out on hards. So everyone's playing it a little bit safe. Be interested to see if anyone does come out onto a set of medium tyres. Probably the longer runners, in fact.
Well, the guys currently on mediums are obviously going to stay out a lot longer. As you can see, as you can see, Cass currently leading at the moment. Is he going to be pitting this lap? Yes, he is. RS Cass coming in, and as Nardi X gets a time penalty there. Also a little earlier on, Floris also got a 3-second time penalty. That's kind of a bit of a common thing with these leagues really, but you've got to respect the track limits at the end of the day, haven't you, Ollie?
Yeah, getting corner cut penalties around here is very, very easy, especially down into turn one. If you just get a little bit wide, can compromise your course. In F1 they brought in a new system where you must go around the bollard, but that can easily be compromised if you're playing around this track. Very, very tough. A similar situation you'll find yourself with at Sochi, down at that turn one, a very difficult one, because if you do get it wrong over stint, it is technically classed as a corner cut, and that is tough. There's final chicane as well, another very difficult corner to get through. The slightest of compromises through that corner, you can find yourself getting a warning. 3 warnings a penalty, and after 3 seconds you're just looking over your shoulder. With how tight this grid is, it's very, very tough to hold on to.
Absolutely right, and Cass came out on those sets of hard tyres, as the viewers can see on the top right, so pretty much going with what the majority of the field is going through. Still, I think a few more yet to pit, and then we should have the original order back in a little bit. But meantime, the two that are temporary leading the race, Clay and Clarkey, having a scrap of their own, it seems, for their battle. For I believe it's a top 10 position, I would presume, probably around about 10th place, I think, anyway. And I wouldn't be surprised if these two stop. Surprisingly enough, Clarkey, in fact, actually started on a set of hard tyres there, so he's going quite long into this race, it must be said.
Yeah, but they will come back to him, and if he's going for the hard soft, which I'd imagine he's going for, then he might come back later on in the race, but the gaps being so close, and the undercut, of course, being so important around here, it could be tough for him.
Absolutely right. He's trying to get the DRS on Clay, but he's just not close enough that time around to try and get a hold of him. Meantime, Synthetic, the actual leader of the race, not wasting any time, trying to find a move on over to King. Around the outside he goes. That is a beautiful pass from Synthetic, and getting up into 4th place. As mentioned, not wasting any time whatsoever, as Cass has passed Chicken for what will be, I think, a provisional 3rd place. So Cass passing Chicken for 3rd place now, but Chicken trying to get him back into turn 4. And let's see if he's able to do so. No, as you can see, Cass defending the inside is that corner. Now Gemzo and even Curly Wurly has found himself back into this battle as Chicken tried to dive it down the inside into turn 5. Wasn't able to do so, and Cass up to, I believe, will be a provisional 3rd place.
Yeah, great squabbling between the midfielders always, and Cass, you know, someone who's often overlooked. He's done a fantastic job here. Chicken maybe having issues with getting the tyre temperatures up. Curly has been the big loss out of this provisional 3rd position. It's now really far down this field. With the way the midfield is so tightly packed, it could be important to just keep consistently there, and you might have a chance later on in the Grand Prix.
Absolutely, and as you can see, Ollie D trying to find a way through and over to King. To me, I don't know if you noticed this, Ollie, but it looks a little bit closer now between Synthetic and Ollie D, so maybe, I don't know if it's because of the traffic or because of the overcut, but it seems that Ollie D is a lot more closer on this stint than he was previously.
Yeah, Ollie might be getting the best out of these tyres, you know, compared to previous stints. At the same time, though, he has been held up by this Toro Rosso, so that could come into factor as well.
Until now, though, because he just
traffic.
goes around the outside of him into turn 1 to take 5th place, so now he can go after Synthetic. As a result of, I think that is Flores that's got a problem. In fact, it looked like a Force India. It's Gemzo. Gemzo's had a moment down at turn 1. I don't know if he got pushed off there in the background, but as a result, Gemzo down in 13th position at the moment, and that's possibly now cost him a chance of a podium.
Yeah, not ideal from Gemzo. Flores now leading the way for the Hype Energy guys down at Force India, but yeah, easy work there from Ollie. So it will be interesting to keep an eye on this gap, of course. It is for the lead. At the moment, just 2 seconds separate them, so it's a little bit. It was around 1.5, 1.4. He did pull out a decent gap, so it's very similar, but after traffic, of course, Ollie was held up. So we'll keep an eye on that gap with a bit more clear air for both of them, but Synthetic's coming on to some some guys like I Super Scrub, Clarkey and Clay, who he needs to dispatch of, and they could be quite torrid and horrible cars to get by. I don't know if they're going to be looking to help Ollie. Maybe they're trying to spice the championship up a little bit, but he'll need to get rid of them as quickly as possible. But you do have a similar thing with, you find a very recurring theme with front runners who are lapping, because you'll find the guy in first will have to overtake cars, and when Ollie may come up to them, they may all pit, which just means he's lost out on time and Ollie's lost nothing. So it's all swings and roundabouts.
Absolutely, and just to let you know, Clarkey has taken the place off Clay, and he's now starting to get away. But of course, this is not for the lead of the race. They're just temporarily leading the race. They are still yet to make a scheduled stop. Surprisingly, Clay staying out very long on those sets of medium tyres. And Clarkey, of course, on the hard tyres, he would stay out for a long while. As adding to Gemzo's misery, he's now got a 3-second time penalty, adding to the end of his race time now then. So all bad news for him as far as he is concerned. There's now Cass coming up the backside of over to Kink. He'll need to dispose of him pretty quickly, otherwise he'll have chicken all over him again, trying to grab third back off him.
Yeah, he needs to make sure that he keeps the consistency going. You know, when you go for an alternate strategy as well, it can really affect you. But the guys in the midfield, I have to say, shout out to them. They very rarely get the plaudits that you'll get with Synthetic and Ollie, who are often front runners. But they just constantly are great battlers. They have great scraps. You know, sometimes a little bit wheel-to-wheel push off the track, but it's all about keeping that consistency. And, you know, any of these can realistically get a podium still.
Absolutely, and as you just saw there on your screen, Flores has actually taken Curly Whirly and has got himself up into P9. Now Curly Whirly is going to have to fend off from Alonso in the Ferrari there, so some squabbling going on down the field. As let's see if Alonso is able to get the move done on Curly Whirly to come down the pit straight now then. And we've already passed the halfway point of the race. We're on lap 19 of 33 here at Catalunya, as now Alonso tries to dive it down the inside of Curly Whirly into turn 1, and he's been able to pull that off there. Well, I say that, Curly Whirly's still around the outside of him now then, as he gets the hand of anger out there. So a bit of contact it seemed between the pair there, but Alonso just has the edge and gets up into 10th place. Curly Whirly losing 2 places as a spinner there. It's one of the Toro Rossos over to Kink, has spun out of that right-hander there then to over to Kink, has had some drama there, but well, lots of things going on, and it looks like Flores has got himself into a little bit of dilemma. He's going very slowly. I don't know if he's got a problem or something, but he's going very, very slowly on the track. And well,
I think Flores might be letting him through. Oh,
okay.
They may have come together.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. They must have had contact somewhere, but yeah, so either that, now that's definitely cost another guy that's probably cost himself off a podium there then. But at least he's been generous and letting him through, acknowledging that it was probably his fault.
Yeah, Flores, who often gets a bad name for being a bit reckless there. From where I was looking, it did look like I thought maybe the Toro Rosso just got on the grass. Very similar to Brendan Hartley, of course, on Saturday. And but no, it must have been contact, of course, and Flores graciously has let him back through. And it's good sportsmanship, of course. You know, no one likes to see crashes, but when it does happen, you've got to deal with it maturely and respectfully and just get on with it.
As Clay has just come into the pits, and he's actually on a set of soft tyres, so as predicted he was going quite long in his first stint, but now he is on those quicker tyres and he can start to push and make some progress, providing that Gemzo isn't a bit of a distraction as they come out side by side out of the pit lane, and he just is able to just get the edge. No, sorry, that is Flores, that's the other Force India there, so he just gets the edge on Flores there. My apologies.
A great little scrap there as well. You know, perfect strategy. just want to note, I believe Clay last week as well, he went on to the alternate strategy and went through the field quite robustly. You know, he started to push his way through. So really important performance from Clay. You know, he loves to go for the alternate strategy, and I think maybe just looking at the gaps, there is a real potential that if he can get these moves done nice and early, he could maybe get up into 6th, 5th at a push if there's some more incidents of podium. But he has to really start to burn the tyres and get them lap times down. But degradation, of course, we keep mentioning it, it's an important factor, and you've got to try and just hold off for as long as possible. And you don't want to push too much, because if these tyres do go off, you're in a world of pain.
Absolutely, and now all the rest of the guys that were in front of the main pack have gone into the pits now then. So Clarkey is in as his Super Scrub, so Synthetic back in the lead. There's a gap between him and and Ollie D is 1.1 seconds. And, well, that's the end. That's that, really. It's got closer than last time. Around 1 second now. He's closing in every lap. Clearly these tyres are working a treat for Ollie D. And, well, we've now got a battle for the lead. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is. And Synthetic, I don't think he'll defend too much. The dilemma we got here, if we just break it down, is if Synthetic wins, Ollie is going to feel much, much worse than he currently is. He's going to feel even more down. Yes, the podium's a good performance, but the championship lead the man he's catching has won. For Synthetic, he can play it safe. Second position isn't bad for him. If you think Ollie's not actually his closest rival, if he slots into second, doesn't defend too hard, you know, he'll just play it safe, you know, continue his good run of form, but it may actually boost Ollie's morale. And you kind of want to, in these situations, if you're leading the championship, you want to just, you know, not in lesser terms almost, you want to just lower the morale of the guy you're battling for the championship for. You just keep him down, you know, just below you, so that you feel more confident compared to them. So this could be a really important race if you talk about the dynamics of the championship and the mind games.
Absolutely, and just a quick shout out really to Nardi X, who's got himself up into 7th place after a tricky qualifying session, which saw him down in last place. He's now right on the prow of Curly Whirly now, and as they come down the pit straight, will he try and go for a move? At the same time, Curly Whirly's got DRS on Alonso now then, and as a result, Nardi X isn't able to get the place pretty much because Curly Whirly had the DRS on Alonso, which was just able to keep him in front.
Yes, indeed. You know, this is important. You know, DRS is a very crucial thing, and many people complain about how overpowered it is, but you're finding with different setups and the alternate strategies that it's very, very tough to get past here. You've got to get the perfect exit out of the corner. I mean, it's such a high speed, high entry corner where you just go through the corner, just, you know, around about 90 degrees, a good speed, around about 5th, 6th gear. You're going round, and you're not getting that much traction. You'll find with traction zones that it's more important that you get a good exit and you can build up space through there. But if it's a gradual corner where you don't really have that much of an opportunity to gain time, it's just all about the straight line speed. So that final sector is the most important sector on the track because it just makes or breaks it. Then final chicanes, they might look like they're just irritating to slow the track down, just make it a little bit more of a spectacle. You see more of the cars. They are very, very important factors for racing around here.
Absolutely, and I know that the DRS gets a lot of slack for just being an aid, really, but to be frank with you, in the real-life Formula 1 season, pretty much the DRS has been the main thing why, along with strategy, why the racing's so far been exciting in 2018, to be honest, and it's clearly a similar thing here in AOR. Meantime, just an update on the top two. It's down to 9 tenths between the pair of them, so it's now under a second. Ollie D now within DRS range of Synthetic, so Synthetic going to have to do a lot of defensive driving now.
Yeah, and not just that. If you look at Cass, he's also gaining in quite significantly. So Synthetic, he can defend and maybe battle and just leave it, get his claws out, scratch away. But if he holds up Ollie and loses time, could allow Cass into the battle. And when Cass is in, that gives Chicken, and then that's Alonso. And then when does it stop? So, you know, they've got to try and really build this gap. Synthetic, he wants to build that to a second, which he's currently doing a good enough job. But if he keeps around about this mark and then the final sector pushes it out, if he keeps that second gap, maybe just lets Cass draw in Ollie, let Ollie have his priorities set more for Cass behind him, he might be able to pull away.
Absolutely, as we look back at this battle for 6 between Curly Whirly and Nardi X again getting DRS, but like on the previous lap, just because of how long the straight is, just not able to get hold of Curly Whirly going into turn number 9, I think it is. So that's that really. As look at this now for this battle for the lead. It's down to 6th, 10th. Ollie D could have a mighty chance down the pit straight if he's able to get a good enough run out of the last corner. He flicks on the DRS. Will he get close enough to get hold of Synthetic down to turn 1? And it just looks like he's not close enough that time around. But I bet you next time around, Ollie D will be giving Synthetic a huge nightmare down for first place.
Yeah, definitely. You just got to keep an eye on as well, though, the fact that these guys are so close that a simple penalty could drop you down one, maybe two positions. So, you know, Synthetic and Ollie need to make sure that they stay away from the penalty marks and just keep things nice and tidy at the moment. But Ollie seems to have found some pace out of nowhere, so he's definitely much better on them harder compound tyres as Nardi continues to be all over the rear end of Curly.
Absolutely, and as you can see there, still struggling to find a way through. I would have thought that he might have got him possibly into turn one, but clearly Curly Willy doing a good job defensively, like we saw a little bit earlier on before Synthetic found a way through in the end. But now Synthetic's got the other Mercedes to worry about, as Ollie D with the DRS braking that little bit later than what Synthetic did, going around the left-hander there, and he might have gone a bit too deep to the point where it's now back up to 9/10 of a second. If they're not careful, Cass could even get himself into this fight as well. He's only, what, 1.3 seconds off the pace, so we could even have a three-way scrap, and even Chicken is getting close as well, so maybe in a four-way scrap. This is getting quite tasty, to be honest.
Yes, as well, Clay, who is on the softer compound tyres, is Clarkey as well, so them two could be coming through the field, which would be interesting. That would open up Gemzo, and then Gemzo's only got the shortest of gap to Curly, so as well, the guys who've gone for the ultimate strategy could be all over, but it just seems that Synthetic is pulling out something in the final sector that isn't allowing Ollie. Do you know what I think's happening? This is just some analysis here. I think that Synthetic is set up for the straight lines. If you look, Ollie gains significantly through the corners, the first and middle sector. Coming through the final sector, though, there just seems to be something that he's unable to catch up to him. Maybe it's the back straight, you know, he's helping the game time, but definitely set up for straights where Ollie, just even with DRS and Slipstream, maybe as well Slipstream isn't available. You know, sometimes with these leagues, you know, Slipstream becomes no longer available. We don't know why, of course, but, you know, it's not there. And without Slipstream, really, is there any way you can overtake? So he might have to get a bit inventive, but play it safe as well, because if Ollie does crash out, it wouldn't just be the end of his race. I think it might be the end of his season. So he needs to play it very, very safe.
Just a note as well, Curly Whirly has now got a 3-second time penalty as well. So unless Nardi X has a ton of penalties onto his name, then that's going to help him out in his battle for 6th place. That will automatically give him 6th place as a result. He's just got to keep it clean, really, and hope that he doesn't get any more penalties in this race, because Curly Whirly has now got one. I believe it was down at either turn 7 or turn 8. Where the corner cut happened.
Yeah, you'll notice, so Nardi, he won't be able to hear this unless, of course, the team get onto the radio and tell him. But he's just been unable to get past the Mercedes, and this is a real difficult thing to do. But we've seen a few overtaking opportunities, but there just seems to be this thing where Nardi just cannot seem to get past him. And we saw at China, where he made a really rash manoeuvre that, you know, cost him dearly and got him in a bit of hot water. So he just needs to be careful, but at the same time, you know, when do these guys start to make, you know, risky moves, Joe? What point do you go, well, okay, this isn't working, I now need to become a bit desperate and a little bit more creative?
Possibly, if he was going to possibly go for a dive, the best place he could possibly do it is either down at turn 4 or turn 5. That's where I believe the best opportunity will come about. But yeah, as you said, Nardi X really isn't trying at this stage not to really go for the risky moves. I mean, all of this is possibly just overheating his tyres at the moment.
Yeah, but maybe he'll back off, you know, similar to what you find Mercedes doing in real life. You know, they'll back off, they'll go again later on.
In fact, speaking of which, he's going to try and dive it down the inside into turn 9, but Curly Whirly shutting the door there, so now he's really starting to get the hammer down.
Yeah, he's starting to get into hammer time a little bit. He needs to just make sure that he doesn't get any damage, because the slightest bit of carbon fibre damage could really cost him, and that front wing is so delicate and such a precise tool that you need to keep that nice and safe.
Absolutely right. The gap was down to 5/10 that time around, but between the top two. But again, Ollie D just not close enough. And as you mentioned, it's probably due to how Synthetic has set that car up, perhaps.
Yeah, as well, Cassie's not gaining significantly either. So I wonder if these tyres are starting to get to the cliff. Lap 27 of 33. Not long left for Ollie. You've got to say it's becoming a point now where it's not just about the race, it's a championship thing as well. If Ollie doesn't gain points here on Synthetic, he might just start to lose a little bit of momentum and a little bit of motivation as well. Synthetic doing a fantastic job. In the words of Gary Barlow, absolutely. And he just needs to keep going, but all over the rear end. Ollie looks to be a lot closer this lap. He maybe has turned something on. Maybe he's realised that his championship might come down to these remaining 7 laps of this Grand Prix.
Absolutely right. He's got, well, it's 6, yeah, it is about 7 laps. I do apologise for that. But yeah, he had the DRS there, but like with Nardi X, not really going for the dives into that left-hander. So let's see this time around if he's able to get a little bit closer. Around 5:10, he probably would realistically would like it down to 4 attempts down that straight to give himself a realistic opportunity of getting the lead, and he has done. He's actually pretty much listened to what I've said. So now coming down the straight, surely will Ollie D get the place of Synthetic now then? Is he close enough to make the move? And again, it just seems that Synthetic, even without DRS, just able to stretch that advantage a little bit more. Ollie D must be getting frustrated in that cockpit.
Notice though, it was 4 attempts coming through the final chicane, so we'll call that the final corner. 5 attempts going into start-finish straight, 5.5 attempts in fact. So he's actually getting a 10th.5 on a straight, where the other guy's got DRS and slipstream. And I think a similar thing's happening to poor Nardi as the Ferrari Force India and that. They're having great little scraps. You do see this with the midfielders. Clay and Clarkey are making their way through the field nicely. So obviously next target for them will be Jim Nardi, who has been stuck behind Curly. So he could have a real good 4-way scrap later on in this Grand Prix. But if I'm completely honest with you, the smartest thing for Ollie to do at the moment is to save his fuel a little bit, and on one lap, just go Hail Mary. Just go for it. You know, you've got nothing to lose. Just even if it's a risky dive bomb, we've seen, you know, in the past that some drivers don't like to go for it, but just go for it. If you tap him, if you make contact, just let him back through. But if it's significant, you might. But even if it's a barging of wheels, just get your elbows out, show a bit of aggression. That's what we want to see at the end of the day.
Absolutely right, and it seems that Ollie D isn't as close as what he was last time around. The gap around about 7/10 of a second, but yeah, Clarkey and Clay, as you mentioned, making their way up through the field. And you've got to remember, of course, they started on the harder set of tyres, and they're now on the soft, so obviously they're going to be making their way through the field quite rapidly. And if they've got the pace, they might even get to that battle of 6 between Curly Whirly and Nardi X. The gap around about 1.9 seconds between Nardi X and Clarkey on that previous lap now then. As Nardi X going down the inside of Curly, has he got the move done? And yes, he has. Up into 6th place goes Nardi X, but Curly Willy trying to feed it round the outside. Be an amazing comeback if he's able to pull this one off, but isn't able to. Nardi X just has the edge, and at last, Nardi X up into 6th position.
Yeah, and Curly could now be in real danger from the guys behind. Just had confirmation that there is actually no slipstream in this Grand Prix. Seems to be some form of aerodynamic issue with the cars, maybe. So, for some reason, slipstream is not effective. Maybe there's no headwind. Maybe it's a tailwind. Sorry, maybe there's a direct headwind. Sorry, that's really affecting them. Or maybe there's a tailwind. That's, you know, for some reason, no slipstream isn't really going to be a major issue. As we've just seen Nardi get past. As a 3-second time penalty for Synthetic could open this Grand Prix up for Ollie.
Well, it depends if he's got any time penalties, of course. Whether Ollie D has one or not, it remains to be seen. But if he hasn't, then he's clearly on course for the victory. But knowing Ollie D, he will try and go for the move legitimately. That's the case, not just base it off a time penalty. As he comes around the final corner, as we'll now have 4 laps to go once Synthetic crosses the line. And 5/10 of a second again, as you mentioned, probably a slipstream issue in this race at the moment, so maybe it could be dirty air, who knows really, but yeah, it just seems to be affecting Ollie D, just not been able to get the overtake done yet on Synthetic.
Yeah, indeed, it seems to be something going on. Clarkey, though, he's got into that 1 second mark now to Curly Whirly ahead, so it could be a real good scrap coming up here. Things stay the way they are. Just imagining that Ollie and Cass don't have penalties, Synthetic will finish 3rd, which isn't really the end of the world for him, considering his championship positions, and he'll stretch his podium run to every single race he has finished on the podium this season, which is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very good record for him this season, it must be said. But as you mentioned, Clay starting to close up on Curly Whirly as a result of him being on those soft tyres. Of course, remember, as I mentioned a little earlier, he did start on those harder set tyres, and now starting to chase down Curly Whirly for 7th place. As now Nardi X is starting to attack Alonso for P5 as he goes down the inside, and he takes the place up into 5th place. Goes Nardi X. He is on a charge ever since he overtook Curly Whirly earlier.
Yeah, and you know, on them, the way he's performing at the moment, he really is starting to, you know, get some confidence going. And you've got to give a shout out though, the fact that he has started last in this race and he's up where he is, and there is a chance of a podium. If he gets up to Chicken, you know, then there's a bit of a chance. But he's got to catch Chicken, he's got to overtake Chicken and get a 3-second gap to Synthetic. But I think Nardi may have a penalty as well. Don't quote me on that, but I think there's a potential. But Ollie is starting to drop back a little bit, so maybe Synthetic has realised the penalty could affect him and he started to turn it up a little bit. Maybe just teased Ollie slightly and he's starting to push a little bit more.
Absolutely right, and he's obviously having to push if that is the case for a penalty as well. In fact, also, of course, Curly Whirly has a penalty as well, so we'll wait and see how that will affect the results by the end of the race. The gap's still around 0.8 of a second between top two, but remember, Synthetic did get a time penalty, so whether Ollie D has some and whether he'll be able to keep that victory legitimately, we will wait and see by the end of the race. If you have around about 2 and a bit laps remaining, Cass only 1.5 seconds behind Ollie D. He's started to drop back quite a bit. He's probably now just settling in for the rest of the race and just probably settling for that final podium place. He's got nobody behind him. Chicky is around 4 seconds down the road, so he could possibly just relax and have possibly a cup of tea in the cockpit if he was able to, but he can just afford to rest up, I suppose.
Do you know what? If I was him, I would just sit back, get to about a second, and then if Ollie does go for a move and they come together, you pounce and you've got real potential here. If Ollie picks up a penalty, he could actually win this Grand Prix as well. So Cass, somebody who very often gets overlooked, he's doing a really solid job at the moment. But this midfield scrap between Alonso, Curly, Clarkey and Clay is really heating up.
As you just saw there, Curly Willy actually lost it coming out the second to last corner, and now Clarkey looking to the outside into turn 1. Clay looking for any opportunity to pounce upon, but Curly Willy just able to fend off as we are onto the penultimate lap of this Spanish Grand Prix here in the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And, well, so far it's been quite an exciting race, it must be said. We thought we'd have quite an interesting one at the front, but no major movements really at the front of the field, but still, 1 a bit laps left. Anything can still happen in Grand Prix racing, and it usually does.
Yeah, 5 cars separated about 1.5 seconds. It's really starting to tighten up, and
RC Alonso's gone down the field. RC Alonso's crashed down at turn 5. He's actually gone straight on. I don't know if he got pushed off there, but he's gone straight on, and he's lost a bit of front wing. He's retired from the rest of the session, along with Davados, who retired a little bit earlier on. But yeah, disaster for Alonso, who's looking strong for points, but now it's all come down for nothing.
Yeah, you'd have to keep an eye. Maybe, you know, if anyone starts to drop down, they might have front wing damage as well. So if anyone does slowly drop, that may be the reason behind it. That promotes Flores into the points at a moment earlier on as well. So this scrap for the midfield is really getting tight and heated up. As the final lap is underway, Ollie's dreams are slowly starting to fade away, but with the potential of a 3-second time penalty for Synthetic, he may be back to the top step of the podium for the defending champion.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but as OTG just mentioned, we are on to the final lap of the race. Synthetic, possibly realising this, he opened it just a tad bit there to around about a second, so Ollie D starting to drop back a little bit now then, and possibly hoping that that his penalty will drop him back a little bit more, providing that he hasn't got a lot of penalties on his plate, as well as Curly Willy has retaken 6th from Clarkey, so he gets back up into 6th place, I believe. I think there was an overtake earlier on. I could be wrong. I think my mind's going a bit dull. There's a lot of things going on in this race, but there we go. As a result of Alonso's retirement, it now has put Flores into the top 10, so both Force Indias in the top 10. So something for the hype energy guys to celebrate, I suppose, but not quite the victory that Flores got last weekend. But meantime, here comes Synthetic. Whether he'll be demoted back for the 3-second time penalty, we'll wait and see. But as he comes around the final few corners now, then let's see, as he comes around the final corner, Synthetic for now wins the race. We'll have to wait and see if he drops back through the field, but Synthetic wins. Ollie D still second, Cass still in 3rd, so some penalties were there for those two, it seems, and that's that really, because Chicken was 5 seconds back, so Synthetic has won the Spanish Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Congratulations to him. He increases his lead in the Drivers' Championship. Ollie D again losing time, finishing 2nd. Cass 3rd, Chicken 4th, Nardi X 5th, Clarkey 6th, Curly Whirly 7th, so the penalty dropped him back, it seems. Genzo in 8th, Clay 9th, Flores getting the point, the final point in 10th. I Super Scrub finishing in 11th. Pasty across the line in 12th position. Alex never really recovered from what happened earlier on and finishes 13th. Over the King 14th, and soon Dam Daniel, who's 7 seconds back from Over the King, will finish in 15th and last. And so a very exciting race, OTG. So I should ask you, who would be your driver of the day?
Oh, hands down, Nardi. You know, from last in the grid to where he finished, I think as well Synthetic deserves it. You mentioned, I believe that Ollie may have picked up a penalty on the two or three laps to the end of the Grand Prix. So when he finds out that he had a penalty, Synthetic had a penalty, he may just be kicking himself after that.
Yeah, absolutely. But now the podium is underway now. Then as Synthetic picks up his trophy. And, well, another victory in the bout. I think that's now his 3rd victory of the season, if I'm correct, OTG?
Yes, indeed. A fantastic performance at the round 2 and round 3 are now capped off here. The only races he hasn't won, of course, were Baku, which was won by Floris, and Ollie, who took the Australian Grand Prix. So good showings in Bahrain
Ollie,
and China.
I think Round 4 was. That was what Floris
won. Oh, sorry, yes, Bahrain.
Anyway, after that little blunder, here is the final results then. Synthetic won the race, Ollie D in second, Cass in third, Chicken in fourth, Nardi X in fifth, Clarky in sixth, Curly Willy in seventh, Gemzo in eighth, Clay in ninth, Floris 10th, I Super Scrub in 11th, Pasty 12th, Alex 13th, Over the King 14th, Dan Daniel in 15th, and the 4 retirements were Alonso, Davidos, I believe it was, I forgot who the other McLaren driver was that retired a little earlier because now everybody's name has popped up, but they are the 4 retirements.
Chocolate.
Chocolate, that's the one. Yes, it was Chocolate. And the other one was Eagle. That's the one. He crashed out earlier after contact with Alex. But there you have it then. That is the end of the Spanish Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. We did say we'd get interviews last week, but I think due to all the issues that have happened, well, surrounding your end, of course, I think we'll have to try and do that for next week. Would you say, or do you think we could try and fit one in?
We'll have to try next week. We have to get in contact with the drivers quite often they'll just leave and just, go and have a bit of a debrief and don't really want to talk to us too. The last thing they want is us to ask them awkward questions about what they've just experienced. They want to relax and enjoy, of course. Apologies from this end, of course, from me. I was, a little bit late, not really out of a situation that was out of my hands, sadly. But I promise next week it will be more punctual, more on time. But Joe done a fantastic job. I think we can all agree. I did watch along for what I could do, and I think you've done a great job, Joe. First time, obviously, going solo. Obviously, you mentioned me driver of the day. Who would you give it? I think I know who you're going to say, but who would you say was your driver of the day from that Grand Prix?
I would have to agree with you, really. Nardi X, to be honest. I mean, after what happened to him in the wet quali session, to come back up into 5th place, I think that's driver of the season right there. But yeah, that is it then, guys, for the Spanish Grand Prix. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like this video, subscribe to Apex Online Racing for more content like this and more across other games. But anyway, I have been Joseph Willows. He has been OTG. Any final words?
Oh, let's just hope that someone other than Synthetic can maybe mount the challenge. I know it's a little bit horrible to say, but if he DNFs and someone else wins, it might spice things up a little bit, but I can't wait for next week. Yeah,
exactly, and I think the next race takes place at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, is that correct, from what I've seen?
I believe so. Last time someone sprung something on me, I got it wrong. So I'm going to go with you here, Joe. This is all down to you.
I think it's we'll say the British Grand Prix. If we're wrong next week, we're wrong. But anyway, thank you to everybody who's been watching the stream. It has been quite an experience for me, first time I've streamed this. But until then, thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next week. Till then, take care.